Let's talk George Pickens and Greg Newsome and the trash talk that is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, which I love, okay? I love that this rivalry is red hot right now. I love that this is old school punch in the face AFC North football. Literally, like not figuratively, not nothing. This is literal punch you in the face football. We already got it. We're going to get more of it, and it has not stopped. The best thing the NFL could have done is put these two games 2 weeks apart. I mean, they probably would have rather done it with Baltimore or Cincinnati. Instead, they did it with Cleveland, and it worked out beautifully. I don't know who saw it coming, but whoever suggested, let's put them on Thursday night, and then 2 weeks later, they'll play again. Round of applause for you, my friend, because you killed it. This is the most trash talk the NFL has had all year long in recent memory, if we're going to be honest. This is crazy how much these people are talking. And it's not slowing down. Today, I was standing right there when George Pickens tried to reflect every single question about him and the penalties and guys getting in his head and so on and so forth. And I think he did a good job because you have to ask the questions. That's part of the job. It's what fans want to hear, obviously. But at the same time, it's got to be tough to be on the other side of that microphone and to be asked like, hey, dude, you're a problem. How do you go about not being a problem? Because how do you have an answer to that? The answer is just, I'm not going to be a problem anymore. That's actions speak louder than words. We'll find out. But then he was asked if he was going to meet Greg Newsome on the field or if they were going to talk pregame or postgame or if they've talked since the game. And he looked Chris Adamski right in the eyes and he said, who? I don't even know who that is. Well, Greg Newsome came back and he had quite a bit of words to say on this one. This one, while George's was short, sweet, and definitely shots fired, Greg Newsome's was a little bit more drawn out. Nick, I'll toss it to you. Let's show the people.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty easy, man. We say it in our room: smart, tough, accountable, resilient team. And I'm all about the team. Obviously, he's a guy that cares more so about himself. And you can see that in the penalties that he causes. And, for me, my job is to try to do whatever I can to help the team win. So there's never going to be no one-on-one battle for me. My battle is to try to help my team get the win.
Does that feel you any different than normal?
Nah, that's a like I said, he does that type of stuff all the time. There'll never be a man that ever can fuel me in any type of way. So definitely not.
Shout out to Greg Newsome, man, because the longer I have covered the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, the more this guy keeps talking. Like you could talk George Pickens all you want. You could bring him up and say that he talks a lot of smack, which he does. Greg Newsome is constantly getting into battles, constantly. And it's not just against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's all the time. I think Greg Newsome versus George Pickens is one of the underrated rivalries in sports right now, where these two actually hate each other. And it's hitting a boiling point. And quite frankly, like I said, I love it. I love it. I got no issue with George saying, I don't know who that is. I got no issue with Greg Newsome coming back at it. I expect full-blown fists to be flying in this Sunday matchup, which is not good. Nobody ever wants to see somebody get kicked out of a game, but it is giving me Andre Johnson versus, what was his name? The corner for Tennessee. It's giving me those. It's giving me that memories. It's giving me, I don't know, any fist fight that ever had. Joey Porter Jr. Joey Porter Sr., against the entire Cleveland Browns bench pregame. That's the vibes that I'm getting in this one. It's Cortland Finnegan. Yes. Andre Johnson, Cortland Finnegan. Like that's the vibes I'm getting here. That's what we're going here. I think it's going to be an all-out brawl. I do think that the trash talk gives the Pittsburgh Steelers an advantage because the Browns are talking, and they're talking, and they're talking, and they're talking, but they're on their high horse right now. That's the thing, is they right now feel that they are better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's very apparent in the way that they're going about these words, the way that Greg Newsome is talking, the way that Myles Garrett is talking. You just feel that the Cleveland Browns feel they are a better football team. They have the Steelers number. Outside of George Pickens, not Greg Newsome, George Pickens. Nobody in Pittsburgh's talking. Nobody in Pittsburgh is talking smack. Nobody in Pittsburgh is talking about the last matchup. Nothing. I even asked Dan Moore. I said, hey, short turnaround doesn't mean anything. And he's like maybe, but probably not. He's like, this is just a new game, and we have to approach it as a new game. Football season is on fire right now, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they're looking pretty good, and I don't think there's anything that brings more excitement right now than thinking about going to the game. And right now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks features out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Obviously, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns, round 2 is red hot, but you could go to Christmas Day, Philadelphia, if you're really feeling feisty, in Cincinnati and Baltimore, both on the radar and the upcoming schedule for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me tell you why Game Time is incredible. They have a couple of things. First, the Game Time Picks, which curates to make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc., all in pricing, which shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, to get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you ever buy, the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And Game Time ticket coverage, which means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. I think it gives the Pittsburgh Steelers a pretty big advantage just hearing the words that everybody's saying. Maybe outside of George Pickens, but George Pickens plays pretty well when people talk smack about him. You got thoughts on a wild week of trash talk for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns?
We had a very similar conversation a couple weeks back when Myles Garrett started the whole defensive player of the year. It's in my house, it runs through me conversation. And I said, you know what? I love it, especially when you back it up, you win the game, and you become an absolute monster in the midst of that game. Both teams have now talked their trash, specifically George Pickens on the Steelers and most of the Cleveland Browns defense.
Yes.
Back it up. Back it up on the field. Back it up on Sunday. And once you do, you can go back out there and talk some more. And I will say not a word. But if you go out there and George Pickens has a repeat of last year when they went up against the Jacksonville Jaguars and there was a lot of pregame talk and then Pickens got shut down. He had a touchdown late, but he got shut down for the rest of that game and they lost.
Yeah.
That's when I have an issue with it. You got to back it up. Now, his hamstring injury, is that going to be a built-in excuse? I don't know. But if you're talking after that news is released, you need to back it up on Sunday. If you do, then I absolutely love it. If you don't, that's when you're going to make yourself look bad. So again, back it up on Sunday and then we'll have a conversation. Because if you do, go out there and talk your stuff again after the game.
I agree. I don't disagree. I'll ask a tough question. And I don't want to ask this question, but I feel I have to. Does not being able to back up the trash talk, would that affect your thoughts on him being a wide receiver 1?
Yes, because it's happened already. Because if that happens
I had to ask
more than once, as you like to say, 2 is a trend, 3 is a trend. Other teams going to know that, hey, all you have to do is get inside his head and then you can shut him down. Jags did it last year. Browns, let's see if they can do it this year. If they do it successfully, other teams are going to take note, and all of a sudden, that's going to be a target on your back. And that's not a target that you want as a starting wide receiver, that, hey, all you have to do is get in his head and he can't perform. Whereas some of these other guys, you try to get in their head and all they do is go out there and get better. So I'm expecting Pickens to kind of answer the bell. If he doesn't, that's when it becomes a problem. But yeah, if he can't get it done after talking all this trash, that becomes a little bit worrisome for me.
I'll be honest. When me and you and shout out Steven Thompson were talking smack last season, he played pretty well. So maybe, just maybe, I'm not going to be the one, but maybe we call some people at the Fan, or we call other podcasts, Chris Carter, if you're watching this, you talk a little smack. You know what I mean? Do your due diligence. help a hand. Just give the Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit of a boost because that seemingly works every single time. I agree with you. I do think that George has to back it up. I think Greg Newsome has to back it up at the same time.
And
I
it
think
goes
Grant
both ways.
Delpit,
Yeah.
I think Grant Delpit has to back it up at the same time. Like, that's where we're at, is you're going to talk all the smack. All the smack's going to be talked. Okay, who's showing up on Sunday? I will say George is talking much less than everybody in Cleveland, which, kudos to George. But you got to back it up. It's got to go both ways. And I think just all around, it helps the Steelers solely because it's only George talking. Or even not even talking, but like a little bit of talking. It's everybody in Cleveland. It is everybody in Cleveland. So the pressure's on them. They're adding bulletin board material after bulletin board material.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers they're adding a little bit. They're saying this, they're saying that. Greg Newsome definitely now has a chip on his shoulder, and he's a good corner. But like Najee's not talking smack. TJ's not talking smack.
And you even mentioned it. George bit his tongue through most of that media availability, and then it slipped out at the end there. And honestly, that goes more towards the Steelers' frame of mind going into this week and what they've been told about this week versus him coming out there and saying it from the beginning. So even George was trying to be reserved in this.
I agree. I think everybody's head in Pittsburgh is in the right spot right now. Just go out there and, like, just to be quite frank, beat some ass. Like that's what they're looking to do. The Pittsburgh Steelers are looking out to go out there, put a whooping on the Browns, and let all their talking or all their walking do the talking. And does that mean that George isn't going to get flagged or, there isn't going to be some issues? No, I would guess that there's going to be. But I don't think the rest of the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be as hot as some of these Browns guys. And I think that puts it in the Pittsburgh Steelers' favor.